Hello there, it's Sandy Allnock. Welcome to my YouTube channel, where today I am going to do a flip through of the completed drawings that are in this book at the end of the video. First, we're going to talk about blocking in some more. In my last video, I showed you how to block in the basic shapes of this bird, working from a photo, and continued the lesson on Zoom. And a couple comments in the chat there. Thank you, that was amazing. My sketch actually looks like a bird. Yay for you. My question was answered about watercolor and bloom, so thanks also for the lesson on quality of paper. I talk about all sorts of things and answer all kinds of questions, so join me anytime. I was just thinking I could hear in your voice how your brain is thinking, and how in the world can you draw and talk at the same time? Yes, I can't do both at the same time. So if you want to hear me babble, you have to go to my monthly open studio videos because I don't do that on YouTube. So this is the completed bird drawing that we did during Zoom. And I talked a lot about the directions of the feathers, how to create areas that look white when a lot of the drawing is light, and getting that contrast in value. The colored pencil one I did on colored paper and layered white underneath of it prior to putting some of the color on top. I did not do that one in the Zoom. It was just there for a reference because I don't have a color printer, so I wanted something on screen while we were doing the drawing. But today we're going to be doing the larkspur. We're going to block it in, and then I will sketch it out for you. So let's get started. The subject this time is much more complex because it's this flower that has just a ton of little bits and pieces to it. A lot of people might never tackle it. The last video, I had given the choice to YouTube to pick from 4 different photos. The others were more complex and everybody picked the easiest one. So our nature is to go for the easy ones. But sometimes something's so beautiful, you just want to draw it. And I'd like to paint this sometime, but I needed to find out if I could draw it first. So I started by drawing the big shape, kind of an elongated potato, or maybe more like a lava lamp. Yeah, let's get away from food. And then I put 3 big flowers in it in approximately the position that I'm going to want them in that whole cluster of flowers. And then I could figure out how big the ones at the top needed to be so that they stop before I hit that first flower. So I'm kind of in my mind as I'm drawing, I'm counting, okay, there's this one, there's that one, there's the next one, and want to make sure that I get to them before I get to the big flowers. And then I know the scale of those is going to work compared to those flowers. Because those big blossoms that I drew in, I was looking at how much of the real estate they take up horizontally of that bigger shape. Now, it doesn't mean I can't continue that shape on and make it bigger and make some of the blossoms stick out more, etc. But at least I have an idea that I'm not going to run out of room at the bottom of the page. Because this one doesn't matter a whole lot if you get absolutely everything in proportion, because it's a flower. And who's going to worry too much about whether or not there's, 12 blossoms instead of 15 or whatever. But it matters in order to get the scale right. So I want to get the scale of each of the blossoms right compared to the others. So I erased that lava lamp shape around the outside edges, and then I'm ready to start going in and making more defined lines. So now I'm looking at specific shapes and what they look like. Now, some of them are more horizontal ovals because you can see them directly from the side, or you're looking at them a bit from the back. And there's some of them that are pointing toward you. And when they're pointing toward you, you have to actually draw a different shape. They're more of a circle or a vertical oval that's going to have like a little opening for the bud in the center. So each one of these little buds, I'm looking at for what is the oval shape. It's an oval, but they're not all the same oval. Some of them are going to hang down. Some of them are going to tilt up. And I'm trying to get the general gist of them here in this blocking in so that I get the general idea of them without putting in too much detail yet, because I still have more steps to go in my drawing. Now, there are some drawing papers that are not going to be as easy to erase. So if your sketchbook doesn't allow you much erasing, try different erasers on it. A kneaded eraser works wonderfully on this paper until I get to a very dark area. If I really put down a lot of pencil and I'm in my last stages of the drawing, and then I discover that I need to make a change, I have to get out something like a plastic eraser or an electric eraser. But at this stage, I can easily erase with a kneaded eraser. And as I mentioned before, this is a Kanso Noto sketchbook, and it's got Tomoe River paper in it. And that's what makes it really easy to erase, and I love it for pencil sketching. It does have a dot grid on it, so I can use it for journaling on these nature journaling pages. So here I got to one of the flowers that has little bits in the middle, and I'm looking at the shapes. I'm looking for how many of those little white shapes are in the center, and how are they arranged. You know, there's like 2 that are more white, 2 that are more blue, and I'm looking for where they're placed inside that flower. It is going to get visually complex as I go, so I'm looking for markers that I can use when I do my drawing for, don't forget this little part. Oh, look, there's a petal there. Let me put one line there to make sure that I create a little space between the flowers, for instance. And, you know, I'm just looking at shapes. I'm not concerned about these looking like flowers right now, because these are just scribbly lines for the moment. And I can refine them later in my drawing, but I just want them to be in place. There's some points at which I realized, okay, there's another blossom behind this one because I was so focused on the foreground ones. I need to put one in the background. And I'm going to go through this whole process again as I add value to it. But for the moment, it's just about getting shapes in there. And if you've not drawn flowers before and this looks really intimidating, it will be difficult. I'm not going to say that this is an easy thing to sketch because it has a lot of complex shapes. But go find some flowers that have shapes to them and fill a sketchbook with them. Just look at the shape of the flower itself. Even a daisy is going to have complex shapes that are easier to think through than this. You know, a daisy or sunflower or something is going to have some petals that are going to be on top, some petals that are going to be behind. And I'm playing around with that as I'm looking through everything here to try to figure out what on earth is going on. Now, there's some things in here that are blurry as I get down to the bottom. I can't quite tell where stems are, where leaves are, and that's going to give me some freedom to just do what I want with my drawing. And as I said, a flower is kind of freeform. Nobody's going to care if I put, you know, an extra leaf in here or an extra bud somewhere, but it's good practice to at least attempt to do what's in the picture that you see or in the flower that you see right in front of you. And I'm going to show you some other sketches that I did in this sketchbook that are also nature sketches and were done out in the field. So I sketched them while I was outside, and I did all but the absolute finishing work at the end. So if you're going to take this sketchbook out with you, then you could do this much drawing while you're sitting in front of a flower, and then take a good picture of it in the position that you're sitting in as you're looking at it, and then go home and add the values to it later, because sometimes it'll take a little bit longer. So this next part I'm going to speed up simply because we'll be here forever. But it'll still give you an idea of the process that I go through when I'm thinking through a complex drawing like this. So I'm starting with some of the darkest shapes. I'm looking for a dark place to begin with because I want to set that value in place first. The darkness of my pencil is going to be different depending on what kind of pencil it is. This is a 9B, so I can press really hard and get a good blackish kind of value. So I, did a little bit of that in that main first flower and then started jumping around to different blossoms up at the top. I'm looking for things like, where is the divider line in some of the blossoms? Because there's a little horizontal line that runs the length of it, dividing the petals. And I'm looking for the value of the flower as well as where is that line? What direction does it go? And is there any difference in the shading on each one? Is there shading at the base? Because on some of them, there's more than others. And I just want to get that bouncing around between black gray of various values, and white, because that's what's going to give my flower dimension, is putting in light and dark values. Now, if you are not used to seeing your subjects in terms of values, then one of the best things to do is take your picture and put it in your phone, or if you have a computer app that'll do that, but take it into your phone and turn it black and white. And you can do that with the saturation setting on a photo. And then save that a second time so that you don't lose your color first photo. But that's going to show you how much black. Is it a 10% black? Is it a 70%? Or is it somewhere in between? And not that you can measure anything. I mean, I suppose you could get a color picker and really go crazy about that. But it's going to help you to see where the values are so that your flower starts to become a flower and not just a weird, bizarre collection of shapes and, doesn't make any sense. So here I'm looking at the flower as I start working down into the bigger blossoms. We've got a lot more darker value. So I'm covering entire flowers with just a basic coating of a grayish color so that the whites in the centers will pop. Because everything you draw or color is seen in terms of how much contrast you get between them. If you didn't have contrast in objects, you would be running into walls all the time because you wouldn't be able to see them. If the only difference you saw was color, you would just run into stuff all the time because the depth of field that we get is because we can see values. So, as I move down, I'm just going to keep adding some of the darkest values when I get to those spots so I don't lose track of where my flower is. I could just cover the entire thing with grays and lose all my lines. All my pencil lines could disappear. So I'm putting in some of that value, but I'm adding in those dark pops in between, in the centers of these flowers, and in some cases underneath of them. So it's, defining some of the shapes around them so that my eye doesn't get completely confused, because I want to keep hold of where my lines are and where those flower divisions are and where some of those extra petals are, and just keep working my way through them. Once I have that basic value down for some of these flowers, I can go back in and start putting in the pops of value, the pops of dark. And I'm looking still for shapes. I'm still looking at each petal individually. And remember, this is sped up, so you don't have to draw this fast, but I'm looking for every petal individually. What is its shape? And then what value changes are there in it? Because that's going to help to set that petal either as a background petal or an underneath petal, something that's shadowed by another, petal that's in front of it and blocking the sun, or whether it's one that's lighter and out in front of the sunshine. And depending on the value that you put in that first, I'm going to call it a wash, even though it's not it's not paint, but these washes of gray, if you make it too dark, you can always erase just a little bit. You can take a kneaded eraser and just tap at it to get some highlights if you need them. But as your flower gets darker, in some of the dark pops of value, the parts that are a light gray are going to look lighter and lighter by comparison. So, just always have your eraser at hand. And sometimes for quote unquote mistakes, somebody, I think it was on YouTube, there was a comment about erasing and how, they were told that erasing meant that you had failed. No, it's not that you had failed. I call it drawing with an eraser, because sometimes I'm going to draw in a highlight by using an eraser. You can use an electric eraser to make a small mark, or a stick eraser of some kind. And that's going to help you to draw out values. That's not necessarily a mistake. And even if you do have a mistake, you have a blossom that got too big, erasing it's no crime. There's no test to find out if you drew it right in the first place. Eventually, as you draw more, you'll be more accurate. And that just takes practice. But a lot of people won't practice because they're worried about that failure. And I'll tell you a story here that I told in the Zoom. And if you want to go see the Zoom replay, you're welcome to. There's a link in the doobly-doo to both the previous bird video on YouTube as well as the replay of the Zoom. But There was a guy that I watch here on YouTube who said one of his professors once told him to go out and get a sketchbook that's only for you. It's not for anybody else, ever. You don't have to show it to a soul. And draw in it every day. Draw in it from real life every day. Not from pictures, photographs, but draw from real life. Draw your coffee cup at breakfast. Draw like your dog sleeping. Draw whatever's in front of you. And the more you draw, if you draw every day, 10 minutes a day, you will improve. So there's my candle larkspur with all the nature journaling notes I made about it. I looked up some fun facts about the candle larkspur. And, the meanings of the colors and all that kind of stuff to keep in my journal. And as I'm doing this, I'm finding out different plants that I might want to actually put in my own garden at some point. So I've just, copied these things down from the internet, done a little research on them, which is one of the reasons I set my drawing so that it's a little off the page and I had room for all the writing. The dotted grid lines in this sketchbook actually help me to make my writing a little more straight, so I'm not going up the hillside as I'm doing the journaling. So let's do a quick sketchbook flip through. Of course, you've seen the little bird, the blue tit, and you can see there's a little bit of ghosting on this paper. It's 52 GSM, it's not super thick, but I'm not stressing out about that because you can hardly see any of it as you're looking through the sketchbook. You don't even notice it. There's a little bit of a leaf coming through, and that's really all. I'm only drawing on one side of the paper, though, because this is graphite. Graphite moves, so I'm not going to risk having one drawing smoosh another drawing, and just not going to worry about that. But I suggest if you have never been to a local garden that you go do that. I went out to see the Powellswood garden just this past week and was tickled to be in the perennial garden where they just have all these beautiful borders. It's just a lovely place to go and enjoy yourself and do some sketching. I took a little stool with me and sat in front of some of the flowers that you're going to see here along this perennial border. Isn't that beautiful? Well, public garden. So this one is Siberian bug loss, which was called Forget-Me-Not when we painted it in the Powellswood sketching class. Oops. I now know because of my research that I did to write notes on my page that this is Siberian bug loss. And I think I want some of this in my yard. Those leaves were more fun to draw than a barrel of monkeys. Not easy, but I was playing around with the values to get them to look dark and the flowers to look light. Maybe I went a little overboard, but I still got the pattern down, which was kind of cool. So next up is the Welsh poppy. They had a lot of these in the perennial border, and this one happens to be yellow. They also come in orange, but trying to render that yellow with the shadow from the flower as it curls around was a challenge, but it worked. I did the first part of the sketch while I was there in the garden and then finished it when I got home. This is some allium that I sketched in a different sketchbook. It's a giant allium. And look who came to visit while I was there. A little bun. This is one of the wild bunnies, but they also have some domesticated bunnies. So I decided to draw them. This little guy fell asleep right in front of me and had a little buddy alongside of him. And I was just trying to figure out which one I wanted to draw, but who wouldn't draw that guy? And this guy was still sitting there. And he just sat there and I don't know if they're both he's. I'm just using that generically. Sorry if I'm misgendering one of you sweet bunnies. So I drew all three of the bunnies. I worked from the photograph to get the last bunny, but I put them all on one page and I called it Bunny Day because I actually saw all three of them. The bunny that I took the picture of was from days before, but I saw that bunny when I was down in the perennial garden. So it was very fun to have little bunny friends at my local garden that I can go visit now. I'm going to have to ask next time I'm there if they have names, because if not, I am going to have to name them. So if you have name suggestions, let me know. So if you've made it this far through my video, which I guess you have if you're hearing this, hit the like button. You guys have not been hitting the like button lately. So do that so YouTube knows it's an interesting video. And then come back on Saturday and make sure you're subscribed if you forget these things normally, because I'm going to be doing a self-critique of all of my paintings I did through the month of April. And yeah, it's May and I'm finally finishing them. But yeah, I'm getting done. So Saturday, look forward to a review of those and what I did well, what I didn't do well, what I want to work on. And hopefully that will help you to self-critique your own work. I will see you then. Take care. And yeah, Go create something every day. Bye-bye.